Hi, my name's Mary. Thanks for watching. Welcome to my channel. So on my channel, I usually do mostly fragrance reviews, but today I'm doing something a little different. So I am a seller slash reseller on a couple different online platforms, and I have some orders to send out. So I just kind of wanted to walk you through how I package everything up and organize everything, keep everything, organized and efficient. In case that's helpful to you, in case you're getting into a little selling or reselling, or maybe you do it a little bit, but you're feeling disorganized. So I'm going to kind of just show you how I like store everything, how I lay everything out when I'm packaging it up, just kind of walk you through it as I do it. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stay tuned. Please subscribe and like, and I'll see you in just a minute. I just want to start off kind of showing you this corner of my room, excuse me, where I kind of store all my like reselling slash selling stuff. I have some of my like inventory here. I have it in other places too, but I guess I'll talk about that. And then like some of the stuff I use to package up the materials. These are like these Dollar Tree bins, and they stack, and I actually used to just have them all stacked, but that was like they were always like kind of falling over and like collapsing into each other. So I just got this metal rack to separate them, and that works pretty well. It's not the most beautiful thing, but it works. Excuse me. These sort of canvas bins down here have like inventory. These are like body lotions and body mist that I resell, as well as these bins here. Yeah, a lot of these bins are just like products. So then I have these bins here are mailers. So I have a couple different sizes of poly mailers that I, just keep on hand. I have these really big ones for like larger clothing orders. These I use the most. I want to say this is 9 by 12 or something. Hold on, I got a ruler right here. Let's see. 10. Yeah, 10 by, I don't know if that 10 by 15. I don't know. I don't know if it's like counts it with, it might be like 10 by 14 or something like that because you fold this up. So this is like the most common size I use. You can fit some body mist in here. You can fit like a smaller piece of clothing. And those are probably the most common things I sell. I do also have some small like bubble ones. So if someone did buy some jewelry from me, I would probably send it in this or maybe like a little box. It's already got the bubble wrapping. So I do make handmade jewelry. So if I sell something that's like a handmade piece of jewelry, I might send it in this. I ordered these ones and they were too small, so I can't actually use them to send anything because like a shipping label doesn't really fit on here. But if someone ordered like a bulk order and I have like some smaller stuff within a larger box, I could stick them in here to like separate them and protect them. Okay. So then up here is more inventory. Now this isn't like my handmade jewelry. So I have bags of like earrings here, a couple bags of necklaces. So that's basically once I'm done making something, taking pictures of it, uploading it, I'll put it in this bag based on what it is. I basically just make necklaces and earrings. I don't know why I don't make bracelets. I just am not in the habit of doing that. So there's another little inventory bin here. Oops. It's not super organized, but it's organized enough. I have kind of some random stuff in here. I have magnets. Sometimes I make like handmade magnets. This is like a decor piece that I made. So this is kind of just like miscellaneous stuff. And then most importantly is this bin. And this bin is where I kind of keep everything that I need for selling: tape, some things like thank you cards. If I want to do a thank you card, I don't always do a thank you card, but if someone orders something I handmade, then I definitely do a thank you card if they did like a really big order. I always include stickers, so I have a bunch of different stickers here. And then like my scissors are in here. I've got like a lint roller, so it's a little messy right now, but this is kind of just where I keep like everything that I'm gonna need for like the packing up process. And then a little bit over here, I have, can't really see it, but I keep just like a bin of boxes of various sizes in case I can't use a poly mailer. So I don't want to keep like a ton of boxes around, but I'll just keep like, you know, kind of like some different sizes. I always have a bunch of these like body mist boxes from Victoria's Secret. So these are perfect if you're just like sending out like one body mist or something like that, or like a perfume. And then bubble stuff, some like brown paper to protect the items. Luckily, my husband also does reselling, and he sells like musical instrument stuff. So he always has like tons of extra because like people who sell that stuff like really package it up well. So I seldom have to buy any kind of bubble wrap because like we just have a ton of it in our garage. That's just like rolled up from previous like things that he bought. And then he just like keeps everything. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to buy anything to resell. I mean, you need to get like tape and stuff, but you can try and just like reuse materials. You don't have to buy like poly mailers, but it also kind of can look nicer. And if you care about how it looks, then you might want to get some like nice looking poly mailers to send your items in. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about, I'm looking for my clicker, like how I lay things out when I'm packaging it up. I'm going to talk about my labels and all that stuff, so I'll be right back with that. Stop, I filmed the rest of that video and my microphone was off, so it's on now. So I already have my big pile of packages I packed up. So at first I was just kind of waiting around to see if I got like some more orders coming in, and I would just like do it again with those new orders. But I haven't got any orders, and I kind of just want to finish filming this video. So I'm just gonna like do some hypothetical packing and tell you what I would be doing with those orders. And that kind of just, you know, in a good way, it's eliminating the risk of seeing any of these shipping labels, because I was just trying to be really careful about that with filming when I was packing these up. So I might kind of just reference something here and there about those. Okay, so I kind of want to just talk about how I lay out my sort of packing setup before I get started. So I don't want to have to be like hopping up and down to grab stuff, just because that's annoying and it's time consuming. So I really try and have everything ready to go. So there's certain things I know I always need, and then some things that like it might depend on what I'm packing up. So before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about your shipping labels themselves. So depending on the platform you use, it should, in most cases, generate a shipping label for you. So this is my like pretend shipping label here. And it just kind of uses AI to estimate like what you're sending and how much it probably weighs. And it just generates a label for you. And sometimes you can select the carrier and sometimes you can't. But it's usually either USPS or UPS. So one thing to be careful of is just make sure you're dropping your package off at the right place, which it happens. So I just want to point out, so without showing anything, this is a USPS label, and you'll always know it's USPS because on the top left it has some kind of code. It's usually G or H. So G would be ground, and then H would be hazardous. So technically, if you're sending something like a body mist or a perfume, it's hazardous because it has alcohol in it. So it'll usually have that H designation. Then UPS, And then also just be careful because sometimes you'll have a label. There are certain options where it'll be both. So it might start off at FedEx and then eventually they'll transfer the package to USPS. And it'll always be like on top, like there'll usually be two labels, or sorry, two barcodes, and the one on the top will be like FedEx, and then the one on the bottom will be USPS. So just make sure you're dropping that off at FedEx, and then they'll eventually be transferring it to USPS to like have it delivered. So just be careful with that, and then just be careful that you're not mixing up your items as you package them. So I always would have like several items lined up, and I would have like the item sitting with the shipping label, and then on the shipping label I would write out right after I printed it. And even when I'm sitting there by the printer, I'm like making sure I'm writing down what the item is as it prints out, so I'm not like, and obviously if you're selling one thing, isn't important, but if you have two or three things or more, you just want to be really meticulous that you're keeping track of what label belongs to what item. I did have something sent to me that was the wrong item. So the seller had sold, two pairs of pants to two different people and swapped the label. So I got the other pair of pants. So not a big deal. I'm sending it back. I'll get a refund for the shipping and the item, and then I just don't want the pants. So hopefully the other person will get those back to the seller and she can kind of relist them, and I'll hopefully be able to like buy the pants that I wanted. So it happens. And the nice thing about most of these platforms, these just sort of reseller platforms, is I feel like people generally are pretty laid back and you should be too. So one thing is, be courteous in the way you interact with people. As soon as someone orders something from me, I always message them thanking them for the order. And I usually tell them when I plan to send it, which is usually the same day or the next day. So in most cases, I will ship the same day or the next day. If I can't for some reason, I'll also let them know, maybe I'm out for the day or I'm gone all weekend, for whatever reason, I'll let them know I can't send this tomorrow, but I'll send it the next day. So I just try and open up that communication. And then as soon as I drop it off, I also send another message just saying I've dropped off your item. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so let me get back to talking about, okay, so this was the point I was trying to get at, was with the shipping labels. You usually get that generated label, but sometimes you might have an item and it doesn't really know what you're trying to sell. So you will have to, sorry, I'm at the sip of my water here. So you need to have a kitchen scale and some kind of like measuring tape or something like that. So you'll need to weigh the item and measure the dimensions. It might ask you to like give you the dimensions of the package and you haven't packaged it yet and you don't know, but like I'm going to put this in a poly mailer, for instance, and I could just like say, well, this is generally, where's the tape measure? Oh, here it is. I can just say, oh, this is generally 8 inches by 13, and I might just like add an inch, given that like the box might be a little bit bigger or the mailer might be a little bit bigger, and then just kind of estimate like the dimensions. It's usually not important for it to be like super exact, but just like be as specific as you can. Okay. Some just sort of basic supplies here. So scissors. I like to have 3 different types of tape. So definitely need packing tape. Unless you're printing, so you can have the label printed when you go to like UPS or USPS. You have a QR code and you just go to the machine or you go to the person and have them print it for you, and then you can just stick it on. I don't do that. I have a printer, so I just print my own labels, and I just like everything to be ready to just like drop off. If I was going to use a QR code, I would just probably, if I had multiple items, I'd probably just take a Sharpie and then just like write a brief description on the package of what that is, so I can make sure I'm not mixing up my labels, and then I would stick it on over top of, I would put the label on top of that. So I haven't done that, but I think that's just what I would hypothetically would do if I wanted to stop using my printer and like using up so much ink and paper at home. So yeah, I'll adhere my labels with shipping tape, sometimes closing up boxes it's needed. So I think this is pretty essential. And then I just personally like using masking tape for things like wrapping up stuff in bubbles. And then this would be more for like if I'm like wrapping something up with tissue paper, I might want some of the Scotch tape. So I just like to have all three. Another thing that is good to have is once again like a Sharpie, and then maybe like a lint roller. So if you're selling anything like clothes, you want those clothes to look nice before you send them out. So you want them obviously to be clean. Don't send out like clothes that you grabbed out of your laundry pile. So clean clothes, nicely folded, and lint rolled. If it's like a black piece of clothing that like adheres lint, you don't want to send like a linty item, so lint roll it and make it look nice. Adhere your label. If you are putting your label on at home, you want to adhere it before you start putting stuff in it, so it's nice and flat. That's also, like I said, why I use something like this poster board, is just to keep it like a firm, flat surface. Maybe if you're using a table, that's not necessary. But yeah, just do this ahead of time, and then it'll just look nicer. And I always pack one thing at a time. So I wouldn't like do all the labels and then put everything in the bag and then put like the stickers. I would just like do one at a time, because as soon as you put that label on, once again, maybe you're going to get confused about what label belongs with what thing, and you'll mix someone's order up. So doing it one at a time, I think, is just a better way to make sure you don't mix up someone's order with someone else's. Like a body mist or a candle, something breakable, then the first priority is just to make sure you're packaging it up so it's secure. So like a good thing to do would be, I do this sometimes, I just make sure the bubble wrap is nice and snug, is maybe take some masking tape and just like tape the top on. I have had someone who said something leaked in something I sent, so I just try and be careful about that. But just make sure you're not like messing up like the bottle packaging or anything like that with the tape. You could also kind of like do it around the top depending on the bottle. But yeah, you could also just, let's see, where are my scissors? Here, there. You could also just kind of make sure it's secured with the bubble wrap. So if you have the bubble wrap, you can kind of just make sure everything is kind of just pushed down on both ends. And it should be pretty secure that way. And that's usually sufficient for something like a body mist. If it's like a glass bottle of perfume, you might want to do like an extra layer around the item, or like add some like the brown paper. I might crumple that up and like put that around. Like the perfume might sit in a box, and I'll have like the paper around to make sure that it's not moving around in the box. So usually this is sufficient for a body mist though. And then something like a shirt, I want to make that look nice. So once again, for the breakable stuff or the stuff that might leak, my main thing is I just want to make sure the item is secure. But for something like item of clothing, I want to make it look kind of nice, just so that person has a good experience opening it up. So then I'll get some tissue paper. This is from the dollar store. What I noticed actually about this tissue paper is it's really small. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you can, like Home Goods is a really good place to buy tissue paper because they usually have like a lot of it in their sort of gift wrapping section. And then, you know, they have lots of different patterns and stuff. So I'm going to make sure this looks as good as I can. You know, like I might even, like there's like a loose thread here. I'm going to snip that off. Okay, so I'll fold it as nicely as I can. I've never worked in retail, so I'm not really the best at folding stuff, but I'll fold it so I can wrap it up in the paper. And once again, if it was linty, I would lint roll it. And I don't always do this, but I do have these cute little like seals. So if I had something like this, I could, let's see, wrap it up. So this is just like wrapping a gift at this point, which maybe you like doing that, maybe you hate doing it. Try and make it look as good as you can. If it was a bigger item, I might not be able to use tissue paper because if it's just like really big and bulky, I probably can't really find a tissue paper that's not going to just kind of rip when I try and wrap it. So in that case, I might just, sometimes I'll actually put it into, if I have like a big bulk order and it's like a lot of clothes, I might put it into the poly mailers, one inside the other, just in case it ripped. And that way, there's just a little extra protection because you don't want that stuff exposed to the elements. Okay, so let's see. All right, so yeah, if I want to make this look really nice, then I can put one of these little seals on there that I got from the Dollar Tree. Okay, so that looks really nice, and then I would put inside the mailer, and it would just look really nice when it comes out. Okay, but I'm not actually selling that. That's actually just one of my shirts. It's not for sale. I can't remember if I mentioned this, but I do have like 3 big bins of clothes that I'm selling that I just kind of keep in my son's bedroom underneath his bed because he's got like a taller bed. So that's where I keep them. I make sure they're like just stored well so they're not getting exposed to pet hair or anything like that, or lint. And then just, you know, once again, just be careful. Like if you have like 5 pairs of black pants for sale, make sure you're grabbing the right pair of black pants. Okay, my mic's still on. All right, so the final touch is the sticker. So I want to talk about the stickers. So I always put, I don't know, like 5 stickers in the package as just like fun freebies, and also just to show like a little extra appreciation. And I try and personalize them as much as I can. So one way that I would do that is, so for instance, I have these national park stickers, and I've been meaning to get some other like state-based stickers. But for certain states, they have a lot of national parks. So for instance, this person hypothetically is in Colorado. So I might look through here and find like a sticker that is like a Colorado national park. So sometimes that takes a while. It depends on how much time I have, because it doesn't always say the state on it. But this is how I'm kind of like learning some geography. So I might, you know, sometimes you can just tell that's Alaska, you know, if it's like mountains. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's some Colorado ones in here. I'm not seeing any ones right away. I don't know where Indiana Dunes is. I'm assuming that's in Indiana. Let's yeah, I don't know, Rocky Mountain National Park. That might be Colorado. So yeah, I would like look it up though, make sure. And there's also just like some generic ones in here that are just like protect our national forest or whatever. So I might just like, if I'm not sure, or if that person lives in a state where there aren't really that many national parks. But then I also have some other options for, you know, stickers. Um, so another thing I might do is look at that person's like selling page and see what they're selling and get an idea of like what their style is. So if they're like very cutesy, say they have like a lot of Hello Kitty stuff, then things like that. You know, I have like these very like kawaii stickers, you know, so something like that. And these are like water bottle stickers, so they're like higher quality stickers, but you can still get a big pack for like $4 or $5. Um, so so yeah, I just try and have like a good. I have some Halloween ones right now since it's coming up on the Halloween season. These ones are just kind of general, and let's see if I can find it again. Some of these are like a little inappropriate. Just make sure you're not giving someone a sticker that's like inappropriate. So I don't know if I can find the exact sticker again. And I also give these to my students, or I'll put them out for my students for them to like put on their water bottles or notebooks, and I go through them and make sure they're appropriate. So let's see if I can find the one from before that I was talking about. Hold on. Found some inappropriate stickers. Or just like, be careful. So this is the one I was thinking about. So it's cute, but it says sun's out, buns out. So like, I probably wouldn't send that out. I definitely wouldn't put it for my students to grab it, because then their mom's gonna see it on their water bottle and be like, where did you get that from? So, you know, and I just like, I don't know the person I'm sending it to, how old they are or their values. So I'm just not going to send something like that. Same with like, I don't know, like something like this, like Halloween coffin sticker. It depends. Like if they're ordering Halloween stuff from me, or I can look at what they're selling and see that they have some like stuff that's more like on the gothy edgier side. I might send something like that, but maybe not. And then some of these are just straight up ugly. Like what is that? So yeah, I'll just try and find like 4 or 5 cute stickers that I don't think will offend anyone, but are as personalized as they can be based on like where they live or like what I can tell about them from like their seller page. So definitely not something you have to do, but it's kind of fun. I like doing it, and it's just a little freebie and a way to just communicate your appreciation to your buyer. And I will occasionally put other freebies in my packages as well, depending on if they like made a really large purchase or yeah, like a higher value purchase. So if they, you know, bought like a bunch of perfume or something, I might put some perfume samples in there, or not meant more than one, but I might put like a perfume sample in there. I think I gave like someone like a lip gloss that I had, because I had like a bunch of unopened, you know, sealed lip glosses. So, you know, just something to throw in there, just like once again show like a little extra level of appreciation. Not necessary, but just brings it up a little notch. So I'm not selling on Etsy. I have an Etsy page, but I basically never sell anything on there just because it's so oversaturated. Um, you know, if you're selling on Etsy, then you're gonna have like a much more like I don't know, branded experience probably for your buyer, where you have like everything's color coordinated and you have nice thank you little. I do have thank you cards. Sometimes I'll put a thank you card, especially if they buy something I made, a handmade item. I'll put a thank you card, or what if once again it's just like a really large order, um, and but it's just like $1 tree thank you card. It's not like I didn't like print my own thank you cards that are like branded with like my company name. So, you know, maybe I'll get around to doing that kind of thing someday, but for now I just kind of like selling on like reseller platforms, and that's just like a little less pressure. Like I can make it look nice, but without feeling like panicked that it has to like look like perfect and be like the perfect experience for the person when they open up the package. So that's just my food for thought, I guess. So I hopefully that was helpful to you. So I'll be dropping off my packages um, later today. I feel like there was something I wanted to say about dropping stuff off, but now I can't remember. Oh, if you're just doing a USPS drop off postal service, they should have like a bin that you can just put stuff in. You shouldn't have to, like, if it already has the label on it, you shouldn't have to stand in line to give it to someone or even use the like machine to like put it in the like pull down bin. There's usually in a post office some bin or like counter area where you could just like put something that they'll just like scan and they'll sort it. So if you don't see that, you could always just ask someone, and that should save you time. UPS, you usually just need to like stand in line and give the item to the person. Um, but it's, there's a lot of UPS stores. It's not usually too bad. You can find like your favorite UPS store depending on where you live. I don't know, maybe you just have one, but where I live there's like 3 or 4 within like a 10-minute drive. And then um, FedEx usually has like a machine that you can just scan it in and put it in to save yourself from like standing in line. Okay, so comment below, like and subscribe. So yeah, comment if you have any questions about what I talked about, or if you have like a request for something else, another kind of topic of selling or reselling you'd like me to talk about, and I'd be happy to make another video. So like I talked kind of about the back end of things. I could do a video about like more like the prepping stuff for reselling. So how I take pictures and that kind of thing. So let me know, and thanks for watching, and have a great day.